Have you ever worked for a boss who made you dread coming to work every day? The kind of boss who could turn a good day into a nightmare with just one outburst? Well, this CEO was one of those bosses until he tried something shocking that changed everything. And I should know he was actually a client of mine. Let me set the scene. So this CEO ran a successful company, but his leadership style was, well, let's say volatile. He was notorious for explosive outbursts, yelling, slamming doors, micromanaging every move. The employees walked on eggshells, never knowing what might set him off. Productivity, not so good. Morale, non-existent. People were quitting, and the board was getting desperate. Even those closest to him were exhausted by the constant pressure and unpredictability. And behind all that anger was one simple truth: stress. Unchecked chronic stress that was running the show. And when stress takes over, it hijacks your brain, particularly the amygdala, the part responsible for our fight-flight response. That's why he was constantly reacting instead of responding, trapped in the cycle of frustration and burnout and freak out. So the board knew they had to do something fast. Replacing the CEO was a risk that they really weren't ready to take. They needed a solution that could work quickly and preferably one that didn't involve years of therapy. That's when a board member who had personal experience with the life-changing effects of neurofeedback brain training for stress made the suggestion, would you try this for 2 months? Now, if you're not familiar with neurofeedback, it's a kind of brain training that helps you regulate your stress response by letting the brain see what it's doing in real time. It's kind of like meditation, which takes years to master, only the neurofeedback works passively. There's no effort or focus required because we're really giving feedback to that automatic functioning brain. So the CEO was very skeptical, but he was also desperate. So he agreed to take a shot, give it a try. He rented a neurofeedback device. We set it up as his desk, and every day he hooked himself up and just like a few sensors, and then he played the music through the speakers, and he kept working while the system, the neurofeedback machine, was on. So there was no meditation, no breathing exercises. It was just giving that brain that recognition of what it was doing, particularly to see those stress patterns, and then to give the real-time feedback it needed so its brain could register what it was doing that was maladaptive and re-regulate. So the idea is pretty simple. When your brain gets a chance to see its own stress patterns, it can start to adjust them automatically. It's like holding a mirror up to your brain and letting it figure out what's not working. And over time, this feedback helps your brain get out of that survival fight-flight mode and back into a state of balance. So let's talk about what happened. 2 months went by, and the board decided to check in with his immediate reports, and what they heard was shocking. Employees who had been considering quitting said the atmosphere had totally changed. The CEO was noticeably calmer. He wasn't snapping at people for making small mistakes. In fact, he was even catching himself, and sometimes mid-sentence, and pausing instead of exploding. And so this was a man who had never paused for anything. So it was incredibly shocking for everybody. And even the CEO himself admitted that something had shifted. For the first time in years, he was sleeping through the night. He didn't feel constantly overwhelmed. And while he hadn't turned into like a Zen master overnight, he was handling his stress without snapping. It wasn't magic, it was neurofeedback, the brain training, helping his brain regulate out of that stress-driven fight-flight mode. The ripple effect was massive. With their boss no longer constantly on the edge, the team started to relax. And when people aren't afraid to make mistakes, they innovate, they're creative. and productivity began to increase. And for the first time in years, the board could finally take a deep breath. So if stress is running your day or your boss's, maybe it's time to see what neurofeedback can do. It doesn't require effort other than the hookup, and there's no endless hours of doing something. It's just real-time brain training that helps you handle the stress before it handles you. So click on the link below to find out more about how it works and get started on your brain training journey today. Your team and your sanity will thank you.